Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It is Friday, which means it's time for 3 questions to better business. I'm Michael Davis, your weekly host. I'm really excited about today's guest because a lot of folks who follow me don't know that I was a financial planner for 20 years. I was a certified planner. I retired in 2018 because I found this is my calling to help people with their presentation skills. The reason I mention that is because my guest today, Bill Haase, is in the financial services industry. He has a highly successful internet radio program. He's got 30 shows out there, but he has over 600,000 followers, viewers, listeners. But what we're going to talk about today blends the two worlds, essentially. We're going to talk about financial planning issues that people should be thinking about in 2022, not just because of Bill's expertise, but because of the guests he brings on. So, Bill, welcome. Very good to have you with us.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
And real quick, tell us about your live radio show or internet radio show.
So that show it's called Innovative Strategies, and it is booming. And it's a show. We've just shifted focus. So going forward, starting next week, we're going to start with in a sequential series. Start with from a concept of wanting to start a business all the way up to bringing it to a large corporation, and we're going to go through the steps and discuss the trials and tribulations that people have and business owners have, and we're going to provide solutions to those problems and help them hopefully to alleviate some of the pain that they go through and to help them be successful in a shorter period of time.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who follow my work they're solopreneurs, they're small business owners. So I highly recommend that you check into Bill's radio show. We're going to do a blend of ideas today, but I wanted to talk about 3 specific areas of the financial world because you have so much contact with folks in those arenas. And it is the first part of the year, so it's a good time to be thinking about this. So let's jump to our first question, and that is, what are you seeing right now is the biggest investment challenge for small business owners right now?
You know, I love this question because it's an easy one to answer this time, but right now, and in past years it might not have been as easy. But you know, folks the people I talk to and the people I know in the industry have a lot of concern for the direction the markets might take this year. There's a lot of concern that we've had a long bull run in the market and that's not going to last. And this may be the year that it ends. It's been the longest run in the history of the market.
Right.
So predicting an ending isn't terribly hard to do, as the likelihood of you being right is better than ever. But it's so people are afraid to get in the market, and you turn around and go, okay, where do I put my money then? CDs, money market, bonds, savings, and none of those markets provide you a good enough return to cover what we call the cost of living increases, which are tremendous right now.
Right.
The highest in almost 40 years. So there are other options out there for you. There's different ways to use money. There are annuities, index annuities, which can protect you 10 and 20 and 30% on the downside, where if the market drops 30%, you choose to have that type of annuity, then you're protected. You've lost zero money. And if the market goes up, you get to participate in that, not 100%. But a good percentage, high enough percentage to cover that cost of living, and you can lock it in. And those also come with like a death benefit. So you're never going to lose your money unless you could lose some money if the market dropped more than 30%. But you won't lose as much as just having your money in the market, whether it's individual stocks or mutual funds, ETFs, things of that nature. So that's one option. There's other types of options. I help put portfolios and balance portfolios. And another option might be a whole life policy. Because a whole life policy gains in cash value, as I'm sure you know, Michael.
Sure.
You know, it's pretty good. It's in that 3 to 4.5% return. It's not outstanding, but it's better than bonds and money markets and CDs. And you can actually have access to the cash. You know, it is part of a strategy in retirement. In those years when you're pulling money out of your investment side, let's say the market does go down and it goes down 20%. If you're pulling out 5% a year, you don't want to pull 5% out in that year it's down 20. because
Right.
it makes it that much harder for the money to grow back. It shortens the life. So you turn around and you pull your cash out of the value in your whole life insurance policy. You do it tax free, and you let the money in the investment side grow back. It will grow back faster, and we'll have a longer life.
Yeah, when I was in the business, we were huge fans of whole life insurance products in general. And they got such a bad rap for so long because they were missold, as you
They
know.
were, they were, and the policies weren't all that great. I mean,
Right.
long-term care is the same thing. They've come a long way, and they're some amazing products right now.
I, I always used to like to use the analogy, if you're sick and you go to the doctor, do you start negotiating which treatment is best if it's going to save your life? You got to ask some questions, obviously, but if whole life or an insurance company is a good solution, why argue?
Well, I had a client in that situation. It was the spouse became ill, and it was a form of dementia. So we know it's going to take a little bit lengthier time. Their long-term care policy was basically a 3-year benefit. So, like, when do we start the benefit? Because we don't want to run out as he gets deeper into his dementia when the costs are increased. So, how long do we wait? So they waited until they finally pulled the trigger and were using the benefit, but they were going to run out, and the costs were getting extraordinarily high. And the family had concerns: Are we going to go bankrupt? Which is very common.
Sure.
And the wife had to make a decision. The husband had a heart condition for which he was taking medication for to keep him alive, and she had to make a choice of taking him off that medication or going bankrupt for the rest of the family. It's a tough choice. Um,
It is.
One that far too often comes up.
Yeah. And I guess the bottom line here is there are so many choices. In the old days, when I broke into the business in the late 80s, we sold mutual funds. We didn't even do individual stocks and bonds. We sold some insurance, and it was pretty simple. Now, the companies that I've been associated with in the past, they had just one investment specialist. Forget the funds and the exchange traded funds and all that. He just did stocks. That was all he did.
Okay.
It's got very specialized. And I think you have to have a team of people with your investments. It also makes me think that one of the best investments you have, if you're a small business owner, is your business.
It is. It's a tough, and that makes it hard because that's your baby, right?
Yeah.
That's all you think about. And small business owners have a lot to learn. They've never done it before.
Right.
And it's great when you have a good concept. You believe you have a good concept, because that's the most important thing. You have to believe in it.
Right.
But where do you go from there? How do you get going? What are the questions you need to start with? What are concerns that you need to think about? It's sales is obviously the most important part.
And that's something you're going to address on the new iteration of the show, correct?
Absolutely.
That's one. Yeah. And that's where I tell people, get business advisors, people who've been there, who will help you avoid the sometimes incredibly expensive mistakes you can make.
I have advisors to me.
Yeah, we have to.
It's look, even as 35 years plus that I've been in this industry, I still have people advising me.
And I do that.
We don't know it all.
Yeah, in my new world now of speech and storytelling consulting, I have coaches who work with me. This week I had somebody I had to have look at a story because I'm too close to it. We're all too close to our own financial situation, our own business, our own speeches. We need help with that. So yeah, lots of ways you can go with regard to investments.
True. And the one thing, and I'm sure you know this, there's one thing that spouses typically never talk about, and that's money. And people don't like to talk about money, and it's private.
Yeah.
But folks, if you're going to have a business, you're going to need help because you don't know it all. You just can't. And if you think you can do it all without help, you're going to find out that you're probably going to have a bad heart condition, lack of sleep, stressed out, far too much. And when there's people out there that can help you, it costs money, yes, but it costs less to bring on a professional early on and learn how to go forward than it does later on to bring a professional on to fix everything you messed up.
You and I are old enough to remember an old TV commercial where the mechanic came on and talked about Fram oil filters. And he talked about changing your oil filter every 3,000 or 4,000 miles. And his tagline was, you can pay me now or pay me later. And we know it always was more expensive to pay him later.
Absolutely. And I do remember that.
Yeah. This leads us into our second question. And this is always a really easy topic to discuss. And that is, what's the biggest tax issue? I know there are more than one, but what's one that you're hearing people talking about as we start the new year?
Biggest tax issue. Yeah, everybody's concerned about taxes and that they're most likely going to go up, but we don't know. The last time we saw taxes, they went down. So the reality is there's a lot of advisors out there going to say the reality is, well, expectations are they'll go up, and we don't have a crystal ball for that.
Right.
But one of the issues I think, especially small business owners have, even solopreneurs, is they don't take money out of the business. They don't pay themselves. They pay themselves last. So they pay all the bills and then they don't pay themselves. And here's the problem with that. At any time, your business can fail, regardless of how great it's going, regardless how good you are and how smart you are. It could be for reasons way beyond your control. And you'll wind up without a business and no money. So, pay yourself. I get that you're going to pay taxes on that, but look, we're all going to pay taxes no matter what. So you have to make it part of the plan. You have to include that.
Yes. We used to get a whiteboard out for clients and we would put all these X's on and say, now here is your monthly or weekly expenses. You got your mortgage, your car, groceries, just go down the list. And we said, if there's anything left over, you always put yourself at the bottom. And we drew a big circle to what you just said.
You're exactly right.
So all we did is say, let's move you up to the top. We'll put the circle up here and say, you're not getting rid of these X's. They're not going away. You're just moving them down one in the list. And magically what happens is you still pay your bills and your obligations, but you have money to show for your efforts.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the last thing you need is stress from your personal side of your life. If you can't pay your bills, your mortgage and things, because you're throwing everything you have into a business. And right now we have 1.4 million new businesses started last year. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of that is they're starting those businesses with those 401k plans that they're cashing in. Tough choice to make, especially if you're under 59 and a half and got to pay that extra 10% penalty. But that's how they're using their monies to get businesses started. There's a tax problem, right? Yeah. Because that money's, not only do you pay a 10% penalty, but that money is also considered income. And if it's a fairly good size 401k you're cashing in, that could take you into a new bracket.
It's probably fair to say that's the worst investment move you can make, or tax move, isn't it? Is to cash in a 401k.
Yeah. I would have brought that up. You're right. It absolutely is. Another way to deal with that is start a business, start your own 401k, and you can do a simple one, a SEP 401, which are not expensive to start up. Roll the money over into that, and then you can set up your own rules and you can borrow that money.
Yeah, or you could even, and I don't want to get too in the weeds on the tax code here, but there are ways to withdraw money before 59 and a half if it's in the right kind of vehicle, where you can take an equal amount out every year and not drain it all at one time. Big mistake to drain it all on an idea anyway. Start small. When I started this business in 2011, it was about 10% of my time was spent on this. And I had an idea that I would slowly build my time and reduce my time in the financial business and eventually leave. It was supposed to be a 3-year plan, took 7 or 8. Okay. Got it done though. But I didn't rush into it because I knew that would be an expensive mistake. And I had to get my feet wet in this consulting and coaching and speaking business.
Well, you said something very important. You planned. All right. And a lot of business owners, when they decide they want to make a change or whatnot, or shift, and they want to sell their business. the reality is that only about 20% of businesses that go on the market for sale get sold. It's a very low percentage. So you better have a plan in order to give yourself the best opportunity to be one of that 20% and sell your business.
That's a great point. And the truth is, the reality of plans is the first day of your business, it becomes obsolete. However, at least you've got something to work from.
Right.
You're
Absolutely.
not just shooting arrows in the dark, so to speak.
Yeah.
You might have to change 90% of it in the first 30 days. That's okay. At least you've got a mindset that says, all right, this doesn't work. We've got it on paper. We've seen it. Now let's try something else rather than just.
Well, be flexible, be open-minded, understand that you don't have all the answers. You're not perfect. And things are going to happen. Life happens, right? You and I have both delved in this world for a long time that life happens. And there are ways to set yourself up and protect yourself from that.
What are you talking about, Bill? It's not like we're going to be in a pandemic or something all of a sudden.
Or maybe housing bubble.
Housing bubbles. Yeah. Yeah, I lived through the Great
attacks. There's
none of that stuff ever happens.
No, but there's little things that can happen that may not even know about, like regulatory changes.
Yeah.
Interest rate changes, the dollar value changes or currency changes, fluctuations, things like that nature. Those are little things that can have a profound effect on a business.
I was working with a client, a successful company. My client's a president of this company, and they just had a killer 2021, best year ever. And we're working on his keynote speech for this year. And we had him put a line in there that said, here's one thing I know about 2022. There's going to be a big unexpected event. Don't ask me what it is and when it's going to happen.
I've heard it. I've even heard of specific dates.
Yeah, have you? Well, good.
Yeah, I've heard even if not the first week of February, maybe February 20th. And okay.
Yeah, right.
Look, I spent 20 years on Wall Street. I know nobody can predict.
No, that was one of the most important lessons I learned early on. And we were talking sports before we started. I love going back and seeing all the predictions that people make. And years ago, somebody did an analysis. At the time, Money Magazine was a big deal. And they went back and looked at all their predictions. And it was like 95% of them were wrong. In the sports side, I'm very happy to say, being from Cincinnati, Ohio, that all the prognosticators were wrong about who would be playing for a spot in the Super Bowl this Sunday. Nobody said the Cincinnati Bengals were going to be, and yet here they are. All kidding aside, it just goes to show why we need to pay very close attention to what we're looking at as far as predictions, because most of them are wrong.
Well, look, I told you I'm a lifelong Cubs fan, so enough said there.
That's right. But who would have guessed? I know that they were having success in the mid 2010s, and then all of a sudden they win the World Series when nobody said they would.
Right, and typically fall apart afterwards. And
that's it. But be careful about what you're taking in as gospel, especially from the news media. And I don't want this to be a bash to the news media. That's too easy to do. But financial media, they're trying to get your eyeballs and they're trying to get your attention and your emotions. And most of the time they're wrong.
Well, so all those financial shows you can watch, and I don't watch any of them. So I don't remember. I know some of the old names, Bart DeRomo and Susie Orman and some others.
Kramer,
and I don't watch any of them because I know that they're all designed to play into the positions that those folks hold in the market, and they're designed for that purpose. So be careful. It doesn't mean they're wrong, but they're not really situated. They're not there for your benefit. No, they're there for their benefit, right?
You mentioned Susie Orman, brilliant woman. So brilliant, in fact, that when she was coming out, and this is years ago, she was telling people to get money out of the stock market. And a lot of people followed her because there's going to be a correction or a crash. Turns out she had all of her money in bonds. Of course she wants you to do that. That's going to drive up the value of bonds.
Well, so look at Elon Musk with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. The guy buys $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and then casually 3 days later lets it slip that, I bought that. And what happens? A Bitcoin, it goes straight up. What do you think he did? He sold right into that. And he made a quick $500, $600 million inside of a week.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of plays and things that go on. And people who have that kind of money, that's what they can do.
And it's also, we used to tell people, by the time you get news, it's old news. If you hear, and I know you've gotten this too, Bill, hot tips. Oh, what's a hot tip? The hot tip is ignore the hot tip. Too late.
You're right. Even when I was in the trading pits in Chicago, we would think we were getting hot tips because we're inside, right? We're on the inside of this Wall Street wall. And let me tell you, even though we thought we were closer, we weren't really any closer than anybody else. And there are no real hot tips unless you're a politician. You might find a few hot tips because you know what legislation's going on, and you might be able to front run that.
Yeah, you might be able to pass some legislation that impacts your portfolio.
Exactly.
All right. So I got one final question for you, and I've enjoyed this. It's good to get back into conversations that I used to be in all the time. My third question for you has to do with, it's more general. What's one unique financial planning idea for business that your clients are using that they're having some success with?
Unique financial idea that they're using. Boy, that's a tough one, actually. You need to learn to spend money wisely. Is that easy? No, it's easier said than done. There are so many people out there that are trying to sell you products and trying to sell you services and things like that. But what you want to look for really is people selling value. They're bringing value to your business, not just a product or a service, but how is that going to be of value to you? Too many business owners spend money on patchwork, and patchwork is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And what happens is you keep up buying more patchworks and more patchworks until you get to the point where your system is so clogged up that you can't do your business anymore. It can't grow anymore. You've gone as far as you can go. So, if financially, that's why I say spend your money wisely, but be aware. We're all preconditioned to dislike salesmen from the get-go, right? We don't want to let them in the door. We got the gatekeeper. We got all that going on. But the reality is there are good people out there that are selling good products and services, but they're selling by proving to you what the value is to you and to your business. If you spend $5,000 on this product, on the back end, you can expect to make $50,000 or $100,000 as this will improve this system. Or maybe this will take away a little bit of this person's, daily job that part of it is really not making you or generating your income. And it allows them to free up to do other things that will bring in more income and more revenues.
I love that answer, Bill. And I expected you, and I was hoping you'd say something along those lines. There's not an easy solution. We can't buy our way out of our problems.
No.
I see this in the speaking world many times, is that people, before I even allow them to hire me, we do a deep dive and say, are you going to do the work?
They don't. Many small owners and solopreneurs don't. No. What keeps them awake at night? We all know it's can they meet payroll, or can they, where is their money? What is the accounts receivable growing, shrinking? And you tell solopreneurs over and over and over again, small business owners, medium business owners, learn to read your financial sheets. If you know where your money goes, I have a friend owns a business and service business and sends trucks out all the time. He said, so what do you charge to send a truck out? He goes, $70. I said, oh, really? I said, how much does it cost you? And he just looked at me like a deer steering in the headlights and said, I don't have a clue. I said, so you don't know if you're making or losing money on that one aspect of your business. So you probably don't know about any other aspect of your business, what's making and what's losing money. So pay attention to those sheets. Learn how to read them. I guarantee you your accountant's already told you to go learn how to read them. You just haven't done it yet.
And it makes sense to do it when you're small, especially if you're just getting started, and develop that habit before it becomes so big that you've got to go take courses now to learn how to read your own spreadsheets and balance sheets.
Great point. Great point. Just like go get an accountant or CPA when you start your business, not when you're a year into it and the taxes are due and you're like, I have no idea where I stand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's all
And it
about
costs
habit.
you more money to find out.
Again, yeah, pay me now or pay me later. But it's all about habits. Those success habits include taking a look on a consistent basis of what your business looks like. What are the numbers? I do some work with a local restaurant group, high-end restaurants. And because of COVID, the president, she said, I had to force myself to not just pass this off to others. I had to look at this on a daily basis.
Yeah, great point. Very important point too. Force yourself into those habits of looking over things and knowing where things are of the areas you don't like or you don't feel you're good at. Get good at it. Make it a habit. So that allows you to use the rest of your time and your creative mind to help the business truly grow.
I remember hearing a success guru, and I use that word very carefully, but this guy really is sharp. And he said, here's the thing I've learned. And he studied successful people for 3 decades. He said, here's what I've discovered about successful people. They hate getting up in the morning early as much as you do. They hate exercising as much as you do. They hate looking at the books, but they know that that's a means to an end. And they look past the short-term pain to the longer-term benefit.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's true. I mean, we all put our pants on one leg at a time. But I will tell you this, for all the business folks out there, here's how it works. To acquire knowledge, okay, knowledge gives you options. Options will give you freedom. So seek that knowledge. That's the first step.
Yeah. First step. I heard a great quote at a networking event last night. I thought this was brilliant. Woman said, I teach people that it's not about the aha moment. I teach them it's what action do you take after the aha.
Bingo.
I said
this literally has just happened to me within the last 2 weeks. I had the aha moment of the direction I want to take my show, and everything just opened up. I know exactly what I want to do going forward, and I'm excited about what I'm going to do going forward. And it's a long-term plan. It's not just a quick aha, this is great. It's now I know which direction to take.
Absolutely. And that's what it's all about. It's that awareness. But what are you going to do with it? I think that clarity of the aha does help open up new avenues like you just described. But talk about planning. What's my next step? I got to take some action to build momentum. And that's where I think a lot of people fall short.
Yeah, but that aha moment will give you direction.
Yeah, it will. Absolutely. So, Bill, this is wonderful. I could talk to you for a couple of hours about all this, but it's late on a Friday for each of us, and I want to let you go. So if people want to contact you, I did not put the name of your show here. I am going to put that in the show notes, but they can contact you here, right? Haase.bill@gmail.com.
That's one email, or to even simplify and say bill@billhaase.com. Either way.
Either way. Okay. And then again, I'll put the show, show name underneath in the show notes. As a quick reminder to our viewers, if you would like to have some storytelling insights, storytelling is a key part of presentations. You've seen, I've just rebranded this. It used to be tips, but we're now calling them 52 storytelling insights. Every week you get a 5-minute audio lesson that gives you a little bit more in-depth, more insight into storytelling and how to maximize it for your business communication. You can go to my virtual business card, which is called infone.co. I will put a link to this underneath the show notes in the video also. You can click on 52 Story Insights, and that will take you to a sign-up page. And coming soon to a live stream near you, meaning next Friday, my very good friend for a long time, Kay Fittis, and I are going to talk about how professional women can become even more effective communicators. So join us for that. Bill Haase, you rock. I love your insights into the financial world and how it applies to businesses. Continued success with the internet radio program.
Thank you.
And we'll do what we can from our end to drive a few more of you listeners to you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on, Michael. I always appreciate what you do and how you do it. It's so
I appreciate
important.
that. Thank you very much.